Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Sean Killian, and I'm the Senior Director for Housing Administration at Temple. And I am joined by my esteemed colleagues here at the university who are joining me for this presentation, as well as some members of our team that will be available to answer questions at the end of the presentation. My two co-presenters are here to share information with us about a guide to living off campus. Dr. Jennifer Griffin and Dr. Chris Carey are here. Dr. Jennifer Griffin is our Vice President for Safety here at Temple, and Chris Carey is our Senior Associate Dean of Students. The goal of this presentation is to really help paint the picture of, helping our students transition from on-campus to off-campus living and living in the North Philadelphia communities. I don't want to steal any of Chris's thunder, so I'll kind of pass it on to him.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Sean said, my name is Chris Carey. I work in the Dean of Students office, and I've had the pleasure of working at Temple for a little over 16 years now. And in this role that I'm currently in, one of the things that we focus on is being a good neighbor. And we often talk about the college experience and students who choose to live on or near campus as an opportunity to develop new life experiences and living on their own. There are a whole nother set of skills and experiences that come into play when a student moves from an on-campus community to an off-campus living opportunity. And for some students, that might even be commuting their first year and then deciding to live near campus. And so, that's really some of the things that we want to share. There are some things, if we're being completely upfront, I recognize that students and perhaps parents and family members may have some concerns about students living in North Philadelphia, and I know that Dr. Griffin will address things as it relates to safety, but there's also a lot of rich history that surrounds our campus community, and some notable locations that students can visit and experience, that are right on our campus borders. And so it's important that our students recognize that in moving off campus, you're moving into a community. North Philadelphia is it's not like many other college towns, so to speak, where everything focuses on the city itself. And so students could be living next door to someone who's lived in that house for 50 or 60 years. And our goal is to really help prepare students to be able to do that in the most effective, respectful, and enjoyable way.
This neighborhood has a lot of history. In my block, we still have families and working people.
I've been living in the 2000 block of North 15th Street since 1968.
I live on Norris Street and still live on that same block, still live in the same house, my whole life.
My mother was a school teacher, and she sewed for the mamas.
I'm a assistant minister at the Living Adventist Church, right? And I let a lot of students know that I am a man of God, And I invited them to church, and some of them do come out, So it's show love, you got to show love.
You have to learn to get along. This is a family block. This is our block. This is our family. So we try to treat everybody in the block as family.
We have generations of family members that we all support each other, and we try to support the students when they're respectful.
When Temple arranges to have the students come through and clean the block, it's a beautiful thing. And I feel personally that I can't sit around and watch them and do nothing, so I come out and I help them.
We're here to help you, protect you, watch over you, and help you be safe, help you feel safe while you're in our neighborhood. But then also we want you to respect our neighborhood also.
I would love to see that students come together with the neighborhoods they live in and just be more neighborly.
Introduce yourselves. We need to get to know one another. That's the problem too. We need to get to know one another. It's no harm in sitting out talking, or let's have a little cookout, a get together.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
I just love the authentic, approach of some of our neighbors to really just say that they love getting to know students. They want to get to know the students that are living on their street and living in their community. And so it's important that if you are a student that you understand that and make the effort, and understanding that you are new to the neighborhood, they may not be. And so how can you sort of extend that, introduction to folks in a way that can help build some community there. The Good Neighbor Initiative, I mentioned some of the history. It's been around for about 15 years. And it was started in part, as more students moved off campus. The sort of tradition of students living on and near campus is fairly new at Temple University. And so this program was created to really help students prepare. I've asked the question at our parent and family orientations throughout the summer. I've asked parent and family members to raise their hand if they think their student knows when trash day is in their hometown. And for many folks chuckle, some raise their hands and they say that their student, takes the trash out every day. But our program varies from the very simple things of, saying hello and exchanging phone numbers of the person who is next door to you, to understanding when your trash and recycling is, and when, what city resources you can utilize to be a good neighbor and make sure that you're doing your best to take care of your block and take care of your community. The next slide just has a few additional bullet points of things that we really focus on. Again, one is the student behavior. The Good Neighbor Initiative and the policy is part of our student conduct code. And so the expectation is that students treat people with respect. But we also provide some opportunities for students and to try to alleviate some headaches that can exist. And so there's a main focus on trash, especially around move out and move in. And for students who plan to move on to campus or changing apartments or anything like that, we have some dumpsters in different locations around the west side of campus. And new this year will be an opportunity for sort of an on-demand service where students can request a day and time that they'll be expecting to move out, and if they have a large amount of trash, they can schedule a time for that to get picked up throughout the week. And so some things that we're really trying to do is to help students to be good neighbors, to learn what it means to live in the community and to contribute positively to that community, and then work on some of the logistics that can support that effort and really help address things like trash and the cleanliness and make the North Philadelphia community a place that people want to live. So there's a lot of great information that gets posted on the Good Neighbor website, which is just goodneighbor.temple.edu, and includes things related to city resources, the 311 option, where students can submit basically like a help ticket for whether it's trash or noise or a street light that is out or anything like that, and the city will help take care of it. So a lot of great resources on that website for you to keep in mind. And then the last thing that I'll say is, as students are considering to move off campus, there are some things that you can do even beforehand. Talk to your landlord. Ask them, do they provide trash or recycling for you? Talk to your roommates. When are you going to have parties, if you are going to have parties, and how are you going to be respectful of the people that live around you? Being a good neighbor can start before you even move on to a block or into a house. And so it's important to have those things in mind. And there's some other tips and suggestions like that on our website. So I'll turn it back over to Sean to keep things moving, and then happy to answer any questions as we get towards the end.
Thanks, Chris. So the next section here, we're going to pass it over to Dr. Jennifer Griffin.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Jennifer Griffin. I'm the Vice President of Campus Safety, Public Safety here at Temple. I've been here for about 7 months. So I've completely enjoyed integrating into our community, both the Temple community and the North Philadelphia community. A couple different things that you should be aware of. Just like Dr. Carey said, being a part of Temple isn't just going to school at this physical location. It's really about integrating yourself into the community. And when I speak to students, one of the most important things to them is really being a part of the community. So we want you to be safe while you're doing that, and also to give you some, strategies and for things to consider. Frequently, we run into students who maybe are from the city. They're familiar with the, kind of city living, transportation, how to migrate, navigate the city transportation. But then we also have a lot of students that are not from the city. And so these are really good strategies. They're good reminders, but they're especially good for people if you haven't been living in the city. Couple different things that we pull from. One is the Violence Reduction Task Force. It was a group that looked at both on campus and off campus living. What are some of the things that we can do to keep students safe? How can they integrate into the community? And then we provide a lot of resources for students. One of the main focuses for campus and public safety is really to educate our students and make sure they're aware of the services that are available to them. First part is understanding, what does Temple campus look like? So the slide on the left, that's our main campus. So our Temple University Police Department police officers extend from Jefferson up to Susquehanna and from 9th to 18th Street. And then there's the bottom piece. I like to call this the pizza paddle. You know, this is our main campus jurisdiction. This is where you'll see Temple University police officers, security officers, our allied universal contracted security. And then within the blue zone that's around, so the red is all of our physical infrastructure. And then the blue zone around it also is policed by the Philadelphia Police Department. So we work hand in hand with Philadelphia to co-police the area around Temple. The picture on the left, the diagram, that's our Health Sciences Center. It's just a little bit up the street on Broad Street, and it includes all of our medical school, our dental school, a ton of other buildings that we use for learning, as well as a student faculty center. So if you're in the medical programs or some of the science programs, you could thoroughly do a couple years on campus and then also be going up to health sciences, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the campuses look like, as well as our Center City campus, Harrisburg, Ambler. We also have campuses, but these are the two primary that we have the majority of our students. Next slide, please. So some of the initiatives that we've engaged in are the Coalition to Save Lives. It's a citywide initiative. It includes a coalition of academic, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and institutions across the city. We continually are working to build relationships and partnerships, not just here at Temple and with the surrounding area, but throughout the city. We host monthly CompStat meetings with our Temple University police leadership to talk about statistics, crime reduction strategies, tracking our progress, increasing communication, incorporating training, and enhancing collaboration both within and outside of the university. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail into what CompStat is. Some of you may or may not have heard about it, but we also participate with the Philadelphia Police Department to hear from them what they're seeing citywide. The great thing about Temple is that we are in a very urban city environment, and there's a lot of great things that come from that. But there are also some challenges that we're seeing throughout the United States with crime. And so we want to always be mindful of that. We want to make our students aware of that as well. We have a lot of community engagement. We have a unit that specifically works not just with our Temple students and our faculty and staff, but also works in the North Philadelphia area. How can we get collaboration and communication between the university and our community? We have a very rich university and a very warm and welcoming community. As you saw from the video, they want students to feel a part of their community. Remember that some of these people have lived in those homes 50, 60, 70 years. Our students, for the most part, are only here at the university maybe 4.5, maybe 5 years. So we want to make sure that we're really incorporating our students into the community to be good neighbors. We have directed patrols, as I shared, where our police officers go within the patrol zone. So anywhere inside those maps in the blue area, you'll see Temple University police officers, as well as Philadelphia police. And we practice hotspot policing. So if there is a specific issue or concern in a certain area, we'll target in, we'll increase patrols, we'll change maybe our strategy in that location to make sure that we're impacting crime or any other issues that we might have. We've done a lot of things this past year with crime prevention through environmental design. So lighting, cameras, as well as we're looking at technology right now to add some software and artificial intelligence to different types of cameras to increase our reach and our crime prevention. Some of the things already I've talked about just a touch, but lights, we have just short of 1,500 cameras on campus. We use those cameras to help our communications center team as well as our police officers when there's an issue. You might also see the Code Blue phones. We have over 90 Code Blue phones on main campus and the Health Sciences Center. So if you're out walking and something happens, or you need to get a hold of a police officer and there's a Code Blue phone, all you have to do is touch the button somebody will immediately answer and they'll direct somebody to you. We're looking at camera angles all the time to make sure that our students and traffic is flowing safely and identifying any issues to deploy resources. The TU alert system is something very important to us. This is an app that people download and also get emails about. It communicates incidents or emergencies that pose immediate threats or hazards. It means that we need you to take action now. We either want you to avoid the area or we need you to, stay inside or something. It could be anything from an environmental concern to, the worst case scenario for a shooting or something like that. So we use that system to communicate most critical information that we need people to take action on. Created a camera audit, so we've actually inventoried all of our cameras. And we're working on a program right now where we actually every year are going to be replacing 20% of the cameras. They're just like your cell phone. We need to update them, make sure that they're working properly, add additional cameras. So that's an ongoing process that we work with. We've increased lighting in several different areas, both within campus and in some of the border areas where we have high volume pedestrian traffic. So people, if you're taking classes at night, we have some corridors that go to the parking areas that we have very visible with a lot of lighting so that people feel safe walking through those areas. A couple different things that we can talk about on anti-violence initiatives, post-parent roundtables. I did one last week, talked to a parent safety council about all the different strategies we're using and listen to their concerns. Did a task force on violence reduction, who composed a report to give recommendations for the university. We also work with the community on beautification and trash collection. We know that that's a key concern, especially at the end of the year when students are moving out of housing. We place dumpsters in certain areas. So we really ask the students, be a good neighbor, take your items that you're not going to take home with you to the dumpsters to help keep the area clean. There's a security upgrade grant program that we offer landlords within the patrol zone that if they increase their different types of lighting or cameras or security on their buildings, that they can be eligible for $2,500 in grant funding. Then we have an off-campus resident safety program. We call it the Best Nest. It's really a sorting system that you can go into. Look, if you want to move off campus, these are locations that follow best practices for safety. You can screen them for maybe, you have classes at a certain area and you want to see, residences that have those safety features in that area. This system gives you that ability. And then we also have, like I said, a lot of outreach and engagement. The flight loop, make sure that you're using it. We've expanded it. It went from 40 to 50 designated spots. We use the Translock system. So please make sure that you download that to your phone. So you don't have to wait outside. You can stand in your, the building you have classes in, wait till it's time for you to walk out. You can watch to see the bus is 2 minutes away and walk down to the stop. It makes it easy for students. We're constantly evaluating that to make sure that we're expanding that or moving the routes like we just did if we have a different volume of students in another area. Walking escorts, I personally have used this myself just to try it out. I called and a walking escort showed up and walked me where I wanted to go on campus. He was pleasant and respectful, and it gave me somebody to talk to when I was walking to another building. So it's a great feature and resource. Also within the Guardian Rave app, you have access to all of these things. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. Please make sure there's a lot of different layers of security and safety here at campus. We have our Temple University police officers, communications center professionals, our dispatch team, our Temple University security officers, as well as allied security officers. So you'll see all of these groups on campus working together to create a safe environment. We also employ back one slide, please. We also employ the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement for patrols. So for students who are underage or excessively consuming alcohol, it's really an unfortunate thing. We frequently, I know over Halloween, we transported almost a dozen students back and forth. So we do also focus on not just education, but enforcement. We want students to be safe, and this is one of the strategies that we use. We have up to 288 hours for Philadelphia to also supplement our patrols. So they've been given very specific locations that we want them to work and partner on. And it's worked out very well over the last couple of weeks. And as I said, Allied Universal, we have over 300 security guards, security officers through Allied that supplement us and provide those standing positions inside buildings, as well as bike patrols. So this is a great example and great look at the flight shuttle system. In fall of 2022, over 12,000 rides. So we track ridership. We want to see how many, as they like to say, butts in seats. So we want to make sure that this is a usable program that you all will use. There's over 50 drop-off locations. If you're somebody that has an accommodation that you maybe like have a wheelchair or some kind of other issue that you need assistance with, Translock also shows which buses have those accommodations. So we want to make sure we're serving everybody. This operates 7 days a week from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. And it picks up typically every 15 minutes. In some cases, it's less. We really shoot to try to have a bus coming through at least every 15 minutes. And then we're constantly reviewing this to make sure that we, how are we doing with ridership? Do we need to expand it as well? A couple things for information sharing. So we're currently hiring a new director of messaging and communications. It's going to increase our messaging through social media, news outlets, and university mediums. I send a lot of letters out. We're also doing some things through social media. We have a new website that's going to make outreach and engagement more accessible, more transparent. We're continuing to build and work on that. So we're excited about this new website. We're looking at some tracking platforms and dashboards. 21CP report should be coming out very shortly. So we're excited to be able to show our progress on these recommendations. As I shared before, we hold executive leadership meetings. I've already met multiple times and speak quite frequently with the FBI, Philadelphia Police Department, our own public safety leadership team, make sure that we're using our resources efficiently and effectively, that we're employing crime reduction strategies, giving case updates, and collaborating. And then we're also pursuing, if not completed, most, if not all of the violence reduction task force recommendations. So if you have a chance, this is a great time to download those apps if you don't have them already. The one on the left is the Rave Guardian Campus Safety app. This is a one-touch button. You can immediately call into our communications center and talk to one of our professional dispatchers. You can also send pictures. There's a panic button in there as well. And you can do walking escorts. If you don't want to call and have somebody physically walk you from one location to the next, you can utilize the Rave Guardian to have a virtual escort. And you put in there, how long you believe it'll take, where you're going from, where you're going to, and it'll watch the clock. If you don't clock out at the end, you'll get a phone call, and then your emergency contacts will get a phone call as well. So it's a great resource for people who don't maybe want to walk with a police officer or security officer. And the QR code on the right is our Translock system that tracks the buses. This is really helpful if you have classes and you want to know when the next shuttle or the next flight is coming. You can easily track it so that you're not waiting outside in the rain or the weather. You just jump on and get off at your next at your location.
There was one question that popped up. How much does it cost to use the flight bus?
It's free. This is a great service. We really recommend that all students use it. Completely free. You can ride it as much as you want.
Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Griffin. And again, if hopefully when we're all done, if there's other questions, the audience can certainly ask those, and we'll stick around to answer any of that stuff. So we just have a few additional slides from the off-campus living group so that we could educate students about the resources that are available from our department, University Housing, in helping students consider what their options are at this time when, again, they've either lived on campus or they're interested in moving directly into the off-campus community. So the first thing that we would want to point out is that there is a website specifically designated for off-campus living. So if you went to offcampus.temple.edu, and that website is available, and there is a listing service where students can search for properties that are surrounding Temple University that are, the properties that we would certainly want students to know about. And those properties have to be licensed in the city of Philadelphia in order to list on our website. So there is a requirement that these, properties that are being listed have to go through, and that's stuff that we do check to make sure that, they have those licenses before they're given the ability to list on our website. So, but you can go through and you can see the website will have a map, and it'll show students the where the locations are in proximity to other locations on campus. So that's a really helpful tool for students. The company, it's actually a third-party vendor that we work with called Off Campus Properties, and they're owned by Apartments.com. So there is some functionality on the website that is also brought in from Apartments.com, such as a comment and other ratings that is helpful for students, so they can see feedback from other visitors on properties. So we find that, again, that information is very helpful for students when they're searching for properties, that they can see, again, just in addition to the generic information about their location and their cost and their amenities and things of that nature, that there's also additional information from fellow students that are, sharing, hey, this facility is very good or not so good for the following reasons. So, that information is very helpful for our students. Additionally, on our website, we also have tips and checklists for students, things to think about as they're going through the process of, considering living off campus. So Dr. Carey mentioned, some ideas, such as, talking with your landlord, developing a budget, things like that are often, very good tips for students to think about as they're entering into this conversation about thinking about living off campus. And, there's a number of additional recommendations that are provided on that checklist. So you certainly would want to give that a look, because, there's just a lot to consider when you're thinking about living off campus. As Dr. Griffin talked about, the Best Nest program was a joint project that we worked on together with the Housing Office and Safety and Security, as well as our senior level administration, in response to just, again, providing students with more information as they approached the effort of looking for off-campus housing. And this program was identified as a way for us to, help students and their families with identifying those locations around the Temple University community that were in adherence to the standards that we felt were very important and that we constantly would hear are critically important for people as they went through the decision-making process. So, items like security and what policies and what items properties were engaged in to take on that issue of security. So, were properties taking advantage of, as Dr. Griffin mentioned, the $2,500 grant program, that if properties upgraded their lighting and their security cameras, that there would be funding available for these properties to make those enhancements. So that was one of the central pieces of the Best Nest program, that that the properties that were in agreement and in adherence to that standard, they would be recognized for that. In addition, we would also be monitoring, if making sure properties didn't have any license and inspection violations. So L&I is very active on our campus and making sure that, that they're investigating any complaints that occur. So properties that, had no issues over a certain period of time would also be considered, in the Best Nest program. So there is a detailed outline on our website that you can read through, that you can see all of the standards that we have set as a university that if properties adhere to that, they can either get a diamond standard, which is the highest, or a cherry standard, which is the tier below that. And you can see all the elements that kind of comprise that. So you can see here that, and this number is constantly changing. So, you know, as of a few weeks ago, it was at 13, but we even recently, as a few days ago, we were talking, and this number is probably now above 20. So it's, you know, as properties get the requirements, and you know, they get everything situated, then, you know, this number continues to increase. And our hope is that we'll see more and more properties become eligible for this program. The nice thing is that once a property becomes eligible, they're automatically listed on our website that you can sort through them. And actually, so the total number of properties on our off-campus housing listing service, we probably have about 250, but you can sort specifically through just the best nest locations. So again, at this point, there is north of 20 that if you wanted to specifically look at these locations, you could go onto the site and see and identify those locations. So really great program. We're hoping for great things to continue to happen as more and more properties get situated with that program. So some of, in the next slide here, some of this is repeated, but I did want to make note that there is a guide on our website, a Living Off Campus guide, which has a lot of the information that we've shared here today. So details about the Best Nest program, about our website and what to find, details, everything that Chris talked about with regards to the Good Neighbor Initiative and the activities that and comprise that that initiative, like the trash collection and other programs that that group is involved with, and details about the patrol zone. So this is a great resource and tool for you. If you have additional follow-up questions, I would certainly seek this out and review this information so that, you know, again, you can just become more familiar with the transition to living off campus. So a lot of good information in this guide for you all. Okay, so that's the bulk of the information that we wanted to share. And we wanted to allow some time towards the end of the conversation to kind of open it up for questions. And I'm going to rely on my colleagues, Ashley and Leah, to help us navigate through that. If there are questions, feel free to, you know, put them into the Q&A functionality here, and we'll address them as we get them.
I'll share one that came, maybe it came directly to me. It talked about, like, if you're living far away and, you know, what is the best way to pick in housing? I would say a couple of things. Number one, use the Best Nest program. Use that because you're going to be able to see it. Always use Google Maps. You can go in, you can see the area. I recommend to parents and students, if they can, to visit the location that they're looking at, both during the day and the night. Look for trash in the area. Look about the neighborhood. Is this more students or is it more families? How is the community integrated with the university? I recommend students stay within the patrol zone if they can, because you'll have both Temple University Police Department and Philadelphia, as well as making sure that you're, you know, using a licensed landlord. I cannot implore this enough. We have seen many students that have gone somewhere, they got very inexpensive housing, only to find out that it wasn't licensed, the person didn't have insurance, they didn't have locks on doors, and there was no way to really enforce those because they're not licensed. So make sure that you're using licensed residences and housing, because that's really important for us as well whenever we come in for enforcement.
I will pull up our website so we can actually take a look and see. So this is the main university housing website, and in that, if you clicked on resources and services and off-campus services, there will be a link here. I gave that link when I spoke, offcampus.temple.edu, but the link is here. This is where, just to highlight the information about the Best Nest program, that guide that I mentioned, the guide to off-campus living. So you can access all those resources here on our webpage. But then to get to the actual off-campus living listing service that I talked about, you could just click on that, or again, go directly to offcampus.temple.edu. And this is where, again, the website is. And if you click on either housing or viewing rentals here, this will take you into the system to actually see all of the properties that are available in the system. And as I mentioned, right now you're going to see everything. There's probably about 250 locations, but up top here in this navigation, you'll notice that there are some searchable options for you. And if you click on the more option, this is where you're going to find the information about the Best Nest program. So as I mentioned, 20, I was off by one, it's up to 21 now. 21 Diamond certified properties, and there's one Cherry certified property. So if I click on this little box here, you'll notice that in a few minutes, it's going to shrink the number from 250 down to those 21 properties that we have classified as the Best Nest Diamond certified. So, and at this point you can go through and you can click on and see, information about all of those properties. So really, really great website. We're really happy that a few years ago we were able to partner with this company to make this service available, because this really cuts down a lot of the questions that we've gotten over the years about, hey, where are the properties that we need to look at? Start here, start with the Best Nest properties and start with this tool, because this is really going to help you identify those properties that, as I mentioned before, meet the standards that we would say are comparable to the on-campus housing experience. It's not as good as living on campus. I want everybody to live on main campus if we could have, we could accommodate everybody, but this is the second best thing for those people looking to live off campus.
The next question we had, and I'd be happy to answer this one as the person who manages the off-campus housing site for the housing ops team. So they asked, how do I find out if a property is licensed? So if you do use our off-campus housing website, every single property on there is licensed. That's a requirement to list on our website. So, and just to clarify, that is the link that Ashley put in the chat that Sean referenced. There are a bunch of Facebook groups that are not run by Temple University, even if there's Temple in the title. So, landlords can post on there. We don't know whether they're licensed or not. We do not manage any of that. But if you do go through the off-campus housing website, which is what we recommend students do, we can tell you that those are licensed, because if they're not, we take them right off the site. And we're very diligent about making sure that those are up to date.
And there's nothing wrong when you're researching properties, you ask the property owner, is this a licensed property with the city of Philadelphia? Can I see your license? Reputable locations are going to be absolutely upfront and say we are licensed, because they're going to want to be able to show you that they've gone the extra step to creating a safe environment for your students. So don't be afraid to ask. You're going to be putting the most important person in your life into this place, and we want them to be safe. So don't be afraid to ask for that. And then obviously some of the things are, get renter's insurance, right? Do all of these things really helps the students also understand, like, living on campus is great. A lot of our kids, though, eventually they want to move off campus for that different experience. But there are responsibilities, like Dr. Carey said, that go with living off campus.
Out of respect of everyone's time, I want to, just thank everyone for joining us, and especially thanks to our panelists, Dr. Griffin and Dr. Carey, for joining us. This is our second webinar in the 2-week period, so we're getting better at it. So we look forward to having additional topics, and just want to again thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of your day.